Hi everyone, it's TJ90 here. Welcome to the channel. Today we are taking on a rebuild with Juventus, fresh after their knockout at the first knockout round to Villarreal in the Champions League in the week, which is their third consecutive knockout at that stage. We're going to see if we can get them back into Europe's elite. Obviously, for those of you who know, in the 2010s, pretty much Serie A lived in Turin. Juventus were just dominant. I think they won like 8 or 9 Scudettos in a row. Just after they bounced back up after the whole match fixing scandal where they got relegated. But since then, they had a few instances of getting to Champions League finals where they lost to the likes of Barcelona, Real Madrid. And since then, they've not really been able to get much further. Obviously, they signed Ronaldo in the hope that he would help carry them over the line. And I think he hoped that going to Juventus, he would be able to get them over that line. But it didn't work out, which by all accounts is, if not the main reason, certainly one of the reasons why he demanded to be sold last summer, where he went to United. Yeah, so we're going to see if we can get them back up there. Obviously, first off as well, we've got to reclaim the Scudetto. So yeah, as I said, this is a rebuild. So for the next 5 seasons, we are going to take charge of Juventus's transfers, matchday tactics, and then literally just sim the whole season, see what happens at the end of that season, repeat, do transfers, adjust tactics accordingly, sim. So yeah, let's see how we're getting on. I've already made some transfers, and I think I'm probably done now for the summer. And we've got a tactic that we've set up, which we think will hopefully do us quite well, make the most of the players that we have. I mean, we all love transfers. First off, let's look at transfers out, and we'll find the deals that we did, because a lot of these deals have happened before us. So we have sold the likes of, we sold Rabiot to United for 15 million. That was kind of what he was worth. It might seem quite cheap, but that is what he was worth. We sold Bernardeschi. He only had a year left on his deal to Roma. We couldn't really get much more for that, and we are having to pay a chunk of his wages. Only about a third, but still. Some of these we will touch on in a minute, because they are players that have signed for us. Angel Jose Josue Chabozo is a young player who we've loaned out, same as Bikien. De Sciglio also only had a year left on his deal, so we sent him out to Napoli for 7.5 mil while we could. And then, yeah, a few other young players who have gone, and you'll notice a few names as well. So let's move straight over onto the ins, because let's face it, that is what we really care about. So some of these players already signed. Weston McKennie, Kaio Jorge, as I'm sure some of you all know already. Mohamed Hataren, he is now on loan at Ajax, I believe. But then if we look at who we've brought in, so we have brought in Andrea Papetti, young Italian defender, ticks a lot of boxes for us. He has stayed on loan at Brescia to continue his development, and we'll discuss our reasons there. Elif Elmas, young 21-year-old attacking midfielder coming in from Napoli. As you can see, his value is now 41 to 47 mil, and we signed him at 30. And then Giacomo Raspadori, we brought him for 24 mil, 21-year-old inside forward / out-and-out striker, good on either foot. He has stayed on loan at Sassuolo, just to help continue his development. In terms of other transfers, Manuel Locatelli, who I believe he is joining at the end of the season. Really happy with that one. Dennis Zakaria, Dusan Vlahovic, we all know about, and Moise Kean is joining, I believe, not necessarily this season, but the end of the second season in this. He's on loan from Everton. And I think that is the main bits and bobs we've done, to be honest with you. We'll go into our transfer strategy in a minute anyway. Now, I did touch on the history of the club before, and we'll go into it a bit more depth now. So, yeah, I mean, last time they won the Champions League was 1996. Then they were runners-up in 97 and 98, 2003, and then 2015 and 2017. They've only actually won the Champions League twice. This is their first time coming back in 1985. As we can see here, though, as we touched on, so around sort of this, between 2003 and 2012, I think, was it 2007 or 8, they got relegated, maybe. And, yeah, they then bounced back through the divisions to then win the Serie A 2012, 2013, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20, being pushed a lot of the way due to the likes of Napoli, and Inter in recent years, but to be fair, they've never really been threatened that. And if we then look to other European competitions, Europa League, we don't really want to be considering that too much. We want to be a lot higher. 2021 was the last time they won the Coppa Italia, so they are the current holders. So we're looking to try and get that as well. And I think in terms of that is it for now. Look at the tactic we're running. This is another one that I created myself, and I've literally created it for this. I've not loaded in any of the tactics I've done previously, either my own or the ones that we've tested here on the channel. But this is the main one we're going to be looking at for now. And I'm leaving a few spaces blank just to give the assistant a bit of flexibility. But ideally, this is the lineup I want him to be going with. I've got Szczesny on as a just a standard goalkeeper because his passing isn't actually that great. Literally just play it short out to De Ligt or Chiellini, and then they can just build it out that way. But ultimately, to be fair, I might change it because it is kind of contradicting itself a little bit. We've got play out defence, but we're also playing slightly more direct. So I think I'm going to change that. It's quite a simple tactic in a lot of ways, not much in the way of instructions. Main thing really is just to make the most of the width and Chiesa and Cuadrado out wide, and then aiming just to get the ball into the box for Dybala and Vlahovic. Dybala making the runs in to support Vlahovic, hopefully. Chiellini using his anticipation, bravery, general reading of the game to actually be more of a stopping centre defender to hopefully come out and meet the ball, while De Ligt is just going to sweep in behind to cover at the back. And then the fullback-wise, fullback is an area I'd definitely be wanting to improve this team going forward. At the moment, we've got likes of Alexandro, Luca Pellegrini, Danilo, and Cuadrado can also play there. And I think, was there someone else? I can't remember. But yeah, we will be looking to try and improve that. We're generally trying to bring the average age of the squad down. Cuadrado, Dybala, Chiellini, the likes of Sandro, Danilo, Bonucci are all, if not over 30, pushing 30. And we need to try and get the average age of this squad down. This has, I think, been definitely one of the problems that Juve have had, is that they've been very reliant on a lot of older players. And they're paying them a lot of wages as well. And they're not necessarily fulfilling the demand for those wages either. They're not, showing themselves to be worth it. So bringing in the likes of Elmas and Papetti and Raspadori, the oldest being 21, is definitely a move that I'm hoping is going to help with that. Dybala is actually out of contract at the end of this season. He's currently not interested in signing a new deal because he's wanted by the likes of City, Liverpool, and PSG. He was interested by PSG. We rejected a bid from them for like 20 million. It was a joke really, and he wasn't that bothered about going. So we've kept hold of him for now. Hopefully we can keep him through the end of the transfer window. We'll offer him a new deal probably around about sort of December time. I'm going to jump back in December just to make sure I can offer him a new contract. Hopefully he'll sign. Otherwise we'll have to sell him in the January and also try and secure a few free signings. And ultimately, I think that's it really from the tactical side of things. The only other thing we've done is Dybala has just got the instruction to shoot more often because his long shots are like 18 or something crazy. So I'm hoping that he'll just get the ball and just smash it in. I have set up some set piece instructions, got the good old corner routines, mainly on attack, to be honest with you. Only done the one for defend. Chiellini has got long throws of something like 18, I think. So excuse me, I've created a long throw tactic as well to try and make the most of that. I think that's it, everyone. Don't want to waffle on too much. These videos can often be quite long, so I want to try and keep it as concise as possible. So without further ado, all that's left for me to do is to start simming this season. And barring we don't get sacked, I'll see you on the other side. Everyone, the season is finished. I finished the first season sim last night, but I was just waiting until today to record the summary. So mixed bag, really. We only really achieved one of our objectives for the season, which was to reach the Champions League quarterfinals. You'll be able to see at the top left there, we finished third in the league. Quite a bit to update you on, to be honest with you, with what happened over the course of the season. As discussed, I did jump in around December time, see if we could A, get Dybala to sign a new contract, and B, to see if we could get some free signings in. We failed in both. So let's start off with Dybala. So he wouldn't sign a new contract. So I was like, right, I'm going to have to sell him, otherwise I'm going to lose him for nothing. So, you know what, I thought, I'll try and have a look. I offered him out for about 50 mil, just because, he's still worth quite a decent chunk of money. And no one was really biting, to be honest with you. And Liverpool had offered him a contract for the end of the season. And I think Inter came in as well, and I was like, you know what, 30 mil, let's just see if we can get something for him. And thankfully, City swept in, and he was more than happy to go there. So at least I got some money for him, which then allowed me to buy Karim Adeyemi, and also to be able to put some money onto Angel Correa. So Adeyemi, we just smashed his release clause of 14.25 mil. Played FM much this season, you'll know that Adeyemi generally turns into a top player. He's not coming in to play as a striker for us. He's coming in to play as an inside forward on the right-hand side. And Angel Correa, you will notice, was a deadline day signing. I just loaded back in on deadline day just to see what was going and who was available. And Correa was available for 21.5 mil, and he actually had quite a productive season for us once he joined. In 16 appearances, he got 10 goal contributions, 6 assists and 4 goals, which, you know, brilliant. Can't really complain at that one. Adeyemi did pretty well too when he joined. 7 goal contributions in 20 games, so not too bad for the 20-year-old who literally just came in. So like I said, we're playing him as an inside forward on the right hand side. He's not really someone who can cross particularly well, but he can finish, and he's got good dribbling. So we're gonna basically aim at just hammering that on him and try and turn him into a class inside forward for us to feed off Dusan, who had an absolute storming season. I haven't got a captain anymore because we lost Chiellini. He retired. One thing I'm going to try and get the board to do is to get the junior coaching up and the youth recruitment up. The bank balance is looking really healthy now, and fingers crossed we'll be able to start mounting more of a challenge on that Champions League next season. We'll touch on that in a minute. If we look at the league though, so we finished third on 82 points, 9 points off eventual winners Lazio under Maurizio Sarri. Goals, Immobile got 59 goals for the season. Just for the league. How many did he get overall? 61 goals in all competitions for Immobile. He did actually win the Ballon d'Or as well, believe it or not. Dusan got 39 league goals. And Raspadori on loan from us at Sassuolo got 22 goals, which is really, really nice to see. And one thing we will touch on is you'll notice Inter came 5th or 6th. We'll look at the schedule now, because for the first half of the season we were flirting around 6th or 7th, sometimes even as low as 8th. Now when we started the season, we had an emphatic win 5-1 against Verona at home, and I thought, brilliant, this is going well. And then we drew with Sassuolo and we drew with Venezia, and then we lost to Ajax in the Champions League, and we'll go to the Champions League in a minute. Nothing against Ajax, very good team, but I would have thought we would be strong enough to beat them. And then we lost to Fiorentina, and then we lost to Lazio, and I was thinking, oh man, what's going on here? But then thankfully we started to turn it around a little bit. So a few good results, and a massive defeat in the derby against Torino, and then we managed to beat Monaco, we managed to beat Inter, Spezia we scraped past, Atalanta we drew with, and then we hammered Villarreal in the Champions League, lost to Empoli 3-2, drew with Roma, beat Ajax, lost to Milan just before Christmas 3-0, which was terrible. And then, things were just dipping a little bit. We came back and we beat Verona again, but then once again lost to Sassuolo, lost to Inter in the Super Cup. So what we did was, and we'll go on to it in a minute, is we used the goal machine tactic that we used at Dortmund and that I did the test on in November, and I'll put the link to that vid at the end of this video if you haven't seen it and you want to see it. And needless to say, things did pick up. Wins. We lost to Lazio in extra time in the Coppa Italia, which the board weren't too happy about because they wanted to get to the final, and we got knocked out at the quarters. But then we beat Lazio in the league, beat Sampdoria, we knocked out PSG, winning 3-0 away from home, and then beat Torino, beat Inter again, so we did the double over Inter this season, beat Atalanta comfortably, lost at home to PSG in the Champions League, but we still went through, 4-2 on aggregate. Spezia, Napoli, and then this is where we sort of had a slight issue. We got knocked out of the Champions League quarter-final 3-1 on aggregate by Man United. But you know what? The board only were expecting us to get to the quarters. So you know what? We still achieved that objective. You'll notice Vlahovic getting a lot of goals. Correa as well. Adeyemi. Elmas. here's someone who really benefited with Dybala leaving, is that basically we just left that shadow striker spot, the number 10, free, and just let the assistant pick whether he wanted to play Elmas or Correa, and it seemed to work really, really well. But then, yeah, look at that, 2-0 against Roma, 1-0 to finish up against Milan, and, you know, if you look at the second half of the season, with that change in tactic to this, you know, generally speaking, it did do very well. I don't really think we lost much in the league, actually. Was it all in the, looking at it? Yeah, so from January, 16th of January, we didn't actually lose in the Serie A at all until the end of the season. Our only defeats came in cup competitions, and we had 1 draw against Empoli. So, you know, I think if we can maintain that form into next season, we should be absolutely storming next season and hopefully reclaiming that Serie A. But yeah, so this is the tactic we've gone with if you've not seen it before. Basically a slightly sort of staggered 4-2-3-1. So these are the main players who we had left in the team through the second half of the season. We just let the assistant pick who else he wanted to play. I'm not convinced on the BBM, to be honest with you. I'm not sure if I'm going to want Locatelli to play there or Arthur, or whether I'm going to actually just change the role. But Elmas and Correa occupied that shadow striker role, generally speaking, I believe. And Elmas did do quite well for his first season at Juve. 16 starts, 23 sub-appearances, 5 goals, 3 assists. So, you know, he's still young. He's still got plenty of development ahead of him. And hopefully this season coming up now, he'll be he'll be ready to sort of kick on a bit more. We could potentially actually play him quite nicely as a Mazzala there, or even as an attacking midfielder. But I think I'd probably rather play him as a Mazzala. So you know what we actually eventually did with this tactic with Dortmund is we did change this to a Mazzala, because we had Ødegaard playing there as a Mazzala and on an attack, and you know it's Ødegaard. He was absolutely class for us. A few players will look to move on. Aaron Ramsey will look to get his wages off the budget, and I just realised he was only born 3 days before me. But yeah, so we'll look to move his wages off the bill. Obviously, he's permanently injured, so he's not going to really be much use to us. In terms of transfers that we've got outstanding at the moment, actually, we have got a bid accepted for Pedro Porro. We've offered him a contract, and hopefully he's gonna join us, and he'll be a really good option at right back. We basically just matched the clause that Lisbon had, Sporting Lisbon had to sign him after his loan spell, which was for 7.25 mil. And obviously, I think he's going to choose to come to us over going to Sporting. We've also put a bid in for El Shaddai Bichiabu from PSG. He's only 17, and to be honest with you, I've signed him because he's going to be I'm trying to sign him, because he's going to be an absolute monster from corners. So I think he could be a really good long-term replacement for Chiellini if we can help him, realise his potential and just improve things like his passing and his marking and his tackling, and just make him a bit more of an all-round defender. He will just be lethal from corners. And then we've also thrown a bid in for Scalvini from Atalanta, but we'll see if we can get him. Just obviously with Chiellini leaving, there's a bit of a void there, and we're trying to just bring through some young players who can eventually fill out those shoes, because Bonucci is probably going to be leaving soon as well, because he is 35. So I just don't particularly see us getting much more out of him after this season. The stats for the season then from our big performers. So Vlahovic with the 53 goal contributions and 50 appearances. Raspadori getting 30 goal contributions on loan at Sassuolo. And then we had Chiesa, had a really solid season. Kulusevski looks like he had a good season out on Spurs. They've not made any offers yet to sign him, so it'd be quite nice to have him coming back. Elmas, as you can see, had a decent first season for us. He's actually wanted by Newcastle and Bayern Munich, so who knows? I would like to keep him, but if a decent bid comes in for him, we might be tempted to let him go, especially because in that attacking midfield role, we've got Correa, who obviously had a much better output than Elmas, but Elmas is still only young. But if a decent bid comes in for him, it could be a really good money earner for us. We then got Cuadrado, who's actually wanted by Man United. I would be tempted to let him go if a decent bid comes in for him. He's 34, so I'm going to struggle to maintain that value for him going forward. He's still a very useful player. With his natural fitness of 19, I wouldn't expect a massive drop-off in things like his pace and stuff, but we just have to see. And yeah, if I get a decent bid in for him, I'd be prepared to let him go, especially now that we're playing that inside forward role. I'm not convinced that we're gonna like use him that much, so it might be worth cashing in on him. Weston McKennie, I'd be quite happy to let him go. Same with Zachariah. I'd rather keep Bonucci, obviously, because he's just a class defensive option for us to have, and it's hopefully going to be someone really good to have around mentoring the young defenders we've got coming through, like the likes of Papetti, and if we can bring in someone like a Bicciabu or Scalvini. Demiral is due to come back on loan, come back to us from his loan spell at Atalanta, assuming they don't smash his 21.5 mil optional purchase fee. Nicola Ravea will come back and he'll be a really good option for us, and he could probably quite comfortably fill in that ball-winning midfield role, to be fair, as well. But he can also play in a more sort of progressive position like a Metzala if needed. Yeah, we've definitely got a lot of options available to us if we can free up some wages by, you know, selling the likes of Ramsey, Alvaro Morata. He'll be going back to Atletico, I think he's on loan from. You know what, this guy moves around so much, I can never quite remember where exactly he is. Does it say? No, not necessarily, but I'm sure it was Atletico Madrid. He can go. Danilo would probably keep him for a backup option at right back if we can get Porro over the line. Probably loan out Kai Jorge because he's not really getting many options over Vlahovic, understandably so. Wojciech Szczesny, good keeper, but again, I'll probably look eventually to upgrade him, but I was actually surprised at how good his attributes were. But yeah, at some point we'll probably look to upgrade Szczesny. So yeah, I'm gonna go and do some transfers, and I shall see you in August, just before the season starts, to look back at what we've done. Yeah, like we did also miss out on a few free transfers. I forgot to say. Tried to get Franck Kessie. He went to Tottenham. Paul Pogba had already renewed his contract at United. Mbappe accepted a contract with us, but then elected to go to Madrid. And the likes of Rudiger and Christensen had signed new deals at Chelsea. So yeah, I think we've got about 30 odd mil to play with, and we've got quite a lot of wiggle room in the wage budget as well. So if we can get some more players out, you know, we could actually be looking to spend quite a decent chunk of money before the end of the transfer window. So I shall see you in 2 months. Well, I mean, you know what, everyone? It's only a week since I last saw you, but I actually think we're done. I'm quite happy with the transfer business we've done, really. We managed to get quite a few players out the door. We freed up so much in terms of wages. There's a few players who are, you know, already leaving before, like, you know, I took over. Douglas Costa being one. Rolando Mandragora being another one. Mattia Perrin, we let him leave on a free. All of these players basically were like just out of contract and have left on a free, with the exception of Aaron Ramsey, who we managed to get out the door to Hanover. Only a small amount of money, but the big thing was getting his wages off the book. We're paying about 42k per week of his wages, but it still frees up about 137k per week. And Juan Cuadrado, he went to Real Madrid. We've also possibly got Dennis Zakaria leaving. He is in talks with a few clubs. Hopefully getting about 9 mil for him or something like that. Rooney Bargi, maybe seen Jake Cooper recently did a video on him for Scout. He's only 16 and he just looks class. We matched his release clause of 9.25 million, and he's just going to see out the rest of the season on loan at Copenhagen. We have brought in Pedro Porro for their 7.25 mil. Altai Bayendir we brought in as a goalkeeper option over Szczesny, so they'll probably just hold that role between the two of them. He's massive. He's 6'6", so you know he's going to be an absolute monster, and he's got better passing than Szczesny, which is hopefully going to help us going forward. Bicciabu did join. Scalvini opted to stay at Atalanta, so he's someone who you know, we're going to try and loan him out to one of our feeder clubs, one of our affiliates. And then we brought in Edmund Tapsoba from Bayer Leverkusen, another sort of defensive option, just to help us deal with the loss of Chiellini and the inevitable loss of Bonucci. Just while we get some young defenders through, like Papetti and Bicciabu, we can hopefully bring them through over the next sort of 2 seasons, maybe. Demiral has stayed. Kulusevski has also stayed. So this is what we're looking at the moment going forward, really. We're not like stipulating the keeper. We'll literally let the assistant pick who plays over Bayendir or over Szczesny, Raspadori. I'm kind of half tempted, to be honest with you, to faff around a little bit here, but to be honest with you, for now, I think I'd probably rather leave Adeyemi in to help Adeyemi develop, or maybe we play Chiesa on the right and we play Raspadori on the left. That could be an option. I just worry about it stunting Adeyemi's development. It's a tough one, really, because the roles that I would play them in, I could play Chiesa as a winger, but then if I leave that blank, then they're going to, it's going to get messy. It's going to get messy. We've still got Rivera. We've still got Pellegrini. We've still got Sandro. We've got a really good squad. We decided to keep McKennie because he's a really good defensive, like, ball-winning midfielder. You know, his like physicals and his mentals are class. So he's just a good rotation option to have for now. And if, like, some of the other interest, Wayne, like Elmas wasn't wanted, which was fine because we're more than happy to keep him. We're selling Piazza for like 2 mil or something like that just to get him off the books, really. Yeah, I'm going to have a little fiddle around with this and I'm going to see what I decide to do. But yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll have a very productive season. Well, everyone, Season 2 here has ended at Juventus. And as you will see from the league table, we absolutely walked the league. Absolutely stormed it. Retained the Serie A, which, to be fair for Juventus, is not something to really write home about. It's something that, you know, really they should be doing in real life with the squad they have. But as you will see, we did it in really quite emphatic fashion. Lost 2 games all season, 2 points off a centurion of points today. Over 100 goals, though, which was really impressive. Helped quite astonishingly by Mr. Dusan Vlahovic getting 49 goals in 38 appearances. He finished on something ridiculous, 62 goals for the season, and it'll be no surprise that he won all sorts of awards. You'll also notice another big performer, Raspadori, playing as that inside forward on the left-hand side. Got 21 assists. If we look at goal contributions first, so you'll see we've got Vlahovic on 62 goals with 7 assists in 50 games. So just shy of 70 goal contributions there. Raspadori getting 38 contributions in 48 games. Locatelli getting 20 from the midfield. Elliot Elmas also doing very, very well. Chiesa, so obviously if you remember, I was playing Chiesa on the right and Raspadori on the left. I wasn't sure what to do for the best there, so I jumped back in after a few months and looked. So Raspadori was smashing it, and in 13 appearances, Chiesa had neither a goal nor an assist. So what I did was I brought on Adeyemi in the inside forward role and just made everything a bit narrower in the tactic to suit that change in roles. And as you'll see, Adeyemi did very, very well. Chiesa, though, did do okay. He got 17 goal contributions, not quite the same as the, I think it was like 26 or something that he got last season. But he did seem to be playing as a number 10 sometimes as well in that shadow striker role. So I think between him and Correa and maybe sometimes Elmas playing in that number 10, they did really, really well. Someone who did do amazingly in his first season at the club was Pedro Porro at right back, getting 15 goal contributions, including 12 assists. That was really quite impressive. Other notable performances, Alexandro got 7 assists, but he is leaving. He is leaving on a free to PSG. We kind of missed that one. But to be fair, we would have been looking to move him on or replace him anyway, because he is just starting to taper off as he's getting old, or getting, well, not on, but getting older a little bit. Szczesny, solid season. He got best keeper. And who else did we have? Pellegrini, he's also leaving. Andrea Papetti got a few games, but he's hopefully going to get some more game time this season now, just as he's maturing and as the Bonucci is just starting to wane slightly. Tapsoba, he didn't play a huge amount, I think, just basically because De Ligt and Bonucci dominated that defensive position. And Demiral played a few games, but he is also injured. His contract expires in 12 months, but it makes it very difficult to sell him with him having that cruciate injury, so we'll probably end up just losing him for nothing. Moise Kean, he joins this summer officially, but we may look to sell him, to be honest with you. He's a good player, but, you know, as you can see, he's not really getting in over Vlahovic, and in the 14 sub-appearances he made in the 1 start, he just got the 2 goals. Difficult, I know, when you're not playing as a regular striker, but when we've got Adeyemi who can also play in that role really quite nicely, even though he is playing more of an inside forward role, but he can play there. Raspadori can play there. So as soon as he joins, we might well look to try and move him on if we can. Obviously, it might be quite difficult because he'll say, "Oh, I've only just joined Juventus, I don't want to go." So yeah, we'll see what happens Now we're literally just on the cusp of the end of the season, I believe. I think the 20th of June is when everything will reset for the next season. So you'll see, yeah, we won the Serie A. We got knocked out by Napoli in the quarterfinals of the Coppa Italia, which was really frustrating. In terms of Champions League, you'll see we won all of our games. We beat Man City twice away from home. 2-0 away from home and 2-0 at home. We didn't really concede many goals, you'll see, but we scored an awful lot. And then when it came to the knockout round, we got past Benfica, 6-4 on aggregate. But then in the quarterfinal, we got knocked out on penalties by Valencia, which, was a bit of a shock when you saw who we'd kind of got past in the group in Man City. And Man City actually ended up getting to the final where they lost to PSG 1-0 due to a 90th minute Paredes goal, I believe it was. So then in terms of other results we had, we did lose to Lazio early doors, but then, as you can see, once sort of like October came round in the league, we went on a bit of a mad run. So many games unbeaten until March, where we lost to Empoli again, 4-3. We lost to Empoli last season as well, but they were our literal 2 defeats all season, Empoli and Lazio. Next season, we really need to be looking to progress in the Champions League. I think the board is still only expecting us to get to the quarters, and they want us to win a domestic cup. So I guess the Super Cup would probably count to that, and obviously win the Serie A. Now, as I said, Alexandro is leaving, so what have we done to compensate for that? Well, we have signed Theo Hernandez from AC Milan, 45 mil up front, potential for 88 mil in total. We're paying him a bit of a wedge. We're paying him 250k a week, but he is probably the best, if not one of the best left backs in the game right now. I did look at Luka Netz, but he seems to be quite a poor form of Luka Netz in this save. His like highest sort of technical stat is something like 13, and he's got like marking and things of 9, so he's just not really a good viable option. Bastoni was available really quite cheap, but he elected to go to PSG over us. Locatelli's coming in. We're going to be really, really happy with him. And as I said, Moise Kean is joining. This guy, Michele Pissarra, my scouts just found, a right back from Pisa, determination of 20. He's 16 years old. Sorry, I think he was released by Pisa or something. He was a free agent anyway. And I just think he was too good to pass up on. So even though we probably won't get to see him at his peak, because hopefully this rebuild will be ending in 3 seasons, maybe even sooner if we win the Champions League before then. He just seemed like too good an opportunity to pass up on, really. In terms of other deals, as you can see, we've got a really decent chunk of money. We have sold Rivera because he only had 12 months left on his contract. He's gone to Leicester for 19 mil with a percentage of profit. We tried to get a percentage of overall sale, but we couldn't quite do it. He only had 12 months left on his contract, and it wasn't really worth renewing it because he was only ever going to be like a rotation option anyway, so we cashed on him while we could. And I think that's really it. Obviously, these are the deals from last year. Altay Bayindir didn't play a huge amount because obviously Szczesny was in such inspired form, but Szczesny is possibly just starting to go over the hill a little bit now, so Bayindir will start getting more game time, I imagine, this season. Star rating is not great, but maybe that's because Szczesny is generally really quite good for us, but he's still got really good attributes, so I don't see any reason for us to, want to change. He's a decent backup and potentially a really good first-team option for us. Rooney Bargi is just, I'm assuming I'm pronouncing that wrong, but, for 17, as we all know, he looks incredible. He's going straight up into the first team. He should hopefully get some game time this season. So, without further ado, I'm going to carry on, see if we make any more transfers. Right, everyone, well, it's actually only been a few weeks, and I think we finished our transfer business, so let's have a look and see what we've done. So obviously this is this season, as you can see. Locatelli, Ken, Pissarra have joined, Theo Hernandez. Callum Doyle has come in from Man City. He is a left-sided centre-back who can also play at left-back, so I'm hoping he's someone who is going to be able to provide cover both defensively and also for Theo Hernandez on the left. He's not necessarily like as inclined attacking wise, but he's got really good attributes. He's only 19. I don't know why he's only got a 3.5 star PA, because he could definitely, this age, he could easily go on to become like a 4, maybe even 4.5 star defender if the situation is correct for him. We've also brought in this young guy, Jose Rojas. Scouts just found him. Cost us like maybe some like 40k. I think. He stayed on loan at his club, which is RRC Hamwa. I think are they Costa Rican? I know they're Belgian. He's Costa Rican. But then the big one, we brought in Pedri. Barcelona Man United wanted like 150 mil for Fernandes, and Barcelona, we managed to get him over the line for something like, it says 95 mil, but it's actually less than that, because it's like performance related fees and stuff like that. Whereas so it says 95 mil up front, but actually it's more sort of like 40 to 50 mil. But just towards the end of the season, we might have to pay him a bit more if you win like the Coppa Italia and after like 50 league games and stuff like that. But obviously, we're not going to play that at this stage. In terms of outgoing, Ayataran's gone. Kayo Jorge has gone to Verona, but there's an mandatory option to buy. He's just not really developing because he's just not in a position to do so at this club, while we've got the likes of Vlahovic and that up top. And then, so this is going to be the tactic that we're going to be looking to use going forward. So Porro and Hernandez and De Ligt straight in. We're leaving the keeper spot free so that they can alternate between Bayindir and Szczesny. Vlahovic up top, Raspadori on the left, Pedri is the Mazzala. We've gone back to that. And then Baldwin in midfielder will literally be either Locatelli, McKennie. Arthur is staying for now, but we'll see what happens. Papetti, Tapsoba, Bonucci, Demiral when he's fit, and Callum Doyle will probably alternate in that central defensive role. Inside forward on the left can be Adeyemi, but equally can be Kulusevski. Could be Chiesa. Shadow striker could be Chiesa, Kulusevski, Elmas, Correa. Obviously, Bargi's here. He might get some games in. So, I think I'm just going to start the sim now. Let's holiday through till the end of the season, and we'll see how we get on. Well, everyone, the season is over, and once again, we have won the Serie A. We've won the Scudetto in emphatic form. This time we hit over 100 points. We only lost once. That was one game to Napoli. We won the Coca-Cola Super Cup against Lazio 1-0. We got knocked out of the semi-finals of the Coppa Italia 1-0 over 2 legs by Inter. That was really frustrating. Obviously, the board have been wanting us to get to the final of that, and we've not managed to do so. Then in terms of the Champions League, we came top in our group, level on points with Arsenal, but going through courtesy of a better head-to-head. We did actually lose to Rangers 1-0 in the first game of the group stage, but despite coming top, we ended up landing Real Madrid, and we lost 3-2 on aggregate in the first round. So we got knocked out. Incidentally, Stuttgart knocking out Inter, Milan getting knocked out by Dortmund, and Lazio getting knocked out by PSG. Eventual winners, Bayern Munich. Just out of interest, where did Stuttgart get to? They get knocked out in the quarters by PSG. No shame. So Bayern won it. Mixed bag. If we look at the 33 games won out of 38, 118 goals for, goal difference of 103, of 85 points, 103, miles clear of Milan, who finished 19 points behind. Goal scorers will be no surprise. Vlahovic, 54 goals in the league. Pedro Porro leading the way on the assists with Chiesa second. Dusan Vlahovic actually won the Ballon d'Or for 2023, unsurprisingly, given that insane goal return he had last season as well. In terms of top performers, Pedro Porro with 24 assists, De Ligt getting 9 goals, Teo Hernandez getting 15 assists, Pedri in his first season for the club with 14 goal contributions. Raspadori tapered off a little bit this season, only in the 24, just averaging just under a goal contribution every 2 games. Vlahovic, 60 goal contributions. Not quite the same levels as last year, but still decent. Bonucci, he is retiring at the end of this season, so we've got Tapsoba, who is hopefully going to take over. But he is wanted by other clubs, and I wouldn't be averse to selling him if we can recoup at least what we spent on him from Bayer Leverkusen. Adeyemi didn't do much this season, despite that inside forward role being left free. He's been sold. He's going to Bayern Munich for 35 mil with 10% of any future sale going to us. Not profit, just straight up sale. So making about a 20 mil profit on him. He's not really developed that well compared to how I've seen him develop before in other saves, and including my Dortmund save. Chiesa, absolute monster of a season for him. 37 goal contributions there. That's the best he's had for us so far. Locatelli doing well. Kulusevski doing well. Papetti got a few games off the bench. He's someone who will be benefiting from Bonucci retiring and filling up that space. Elmas continuing to do really, really well for us. Probably not like star level, but a solid player for the Serie A at least. And seems to chip in with goals on a pretty regular basis. Weston McKennie again doing fine. In terms of transfers, though, we've already secured a couple of ins and a few outs. So in terms of outs, we'll start with Szczesny. There's some interest in him, and we will probably look to sell him. We've got a replacement lined up, but it's currently the Euros, and we can't conclude a few deals. As a result, a lot of players are keeping their options open. So we're going to sell him, and then once the Euros are over, we'll get his replacement in, and we'll also look to sign a new defender just to add a bit of quality in there. And then we'll probably just leave the 2 defensive slots free for De Ligt, Tapsoba, the new defender we have in mind, who I won't reveal just yet, Papetti, to take over. Demiral is leaving on a free, as we predicted. Danilo also leaving on a free. Arta is going to Hertha for 20 mil. And Moise Kean is also leaving. He is going to, I want to say Fulham. Yeah, sorry, he's gone to Fulham for 20 mil, and Correa has also left. He's gone to Leicester for 30 mil. Correa wasn't getting much game time this season. He was moaning, so we managed to sell him, get 9 mil profit. So good bit of business there. In terms of incomings, there's only really one significant incoming that I can think of, as that is Houssem Aouar coming in from Lyon, just to add a bit of, try and really ramp up the quality in that number 10 spot. Well, everyone, the transfer window is over, and after much wheeling and dealing, I think we've got a team that should really be able to challenge at the top end of the Champions League. In terms of outgoings, there's not much else based on, going on behind my face, other than the fact that we sold Tapsoba for 43 million to Wolves, so we basically got back what we made for him, and we managed to sell Szczesny for about 12 mil to Hoffenheim. That facilitated the moves for Mike Maignan from Milan for quite a massive sum of money. He's our new keeper. Laporte and Bastoni. Now, we were kind of going for one or the other, but both bids got accepted. We weren't really expecting it to. So we ended up just going for both of them in the end. And obviously we sold Tapsoba to compensate for that, and that allowed us to balance the wages. Esposito has come in. He is going to be a loan option up front, just behind Vlahovic and Raspadori, because they are only our real striker options at the moment. And this guy, Gaston Brizuela, is coming in from River Plate. He's a sort of a new gen right back / defender, centre half, who's staying on loan at River for the rest of the season. The tactic is basically going to end up looking like this now, with Aouar as that shadow striker, Pedri as the mezzala, Raspadori is the inside forward, and Vlahovic as the advanced forward. And we'll just let Porro and Hernandez continue to do their thing, and we'll leave the assistant to pick who he wants to play in these roles at the back between De Ligt, Bastoni, Papetti and Laporte. Well, everyone, the 4th season here has to go down. To be honest with you, somewhat of a disappointment. With the title, with one hand on the Scudetto on the final day, a point clear of Milan. We lost to Milan at the San Siro and ended up finishing 2nd. We really, by looking at the schedule, we did throw it away, to be honest with you. We drew a few games here against Roma, Sassuolo, Atalanta, Udinese, who are flying high, to be fair, at times during the season. But you will notice we got smashed 8-1 at Anfield by Liverpool after drawing 4-4 with them at home. Pedro Porro looking really good there. He got on the score sheet. But yeah, not our best season. We got dumped out of the Coppa Italia by Parma, which is kind of ironic given the fact that my first series on this channel was with Parma. We did win the Super Cup, but you know what? We don't really care about that, and I doubt the board do really either, to be honest with you. Financially, board's struggling a little bit. Only got a C for this season. Yeah, very, very disappointing season, to be honest with you. But there were some incredible individual performances, most notably from this man, Dusan Vlahovic. 71 goals and 7 assists in 50 appearances. He won the Ballon d'Or again. At Christmas, he was on something like 48 goals or something absolutely insane. Raspadori, a bit more like his normal self from his first season. Husam Aouar having a brilliant first season at the club. Bastoni, you'll notice, did end up starting, and that was because when I was just checking on how things were going to see what we were doing with the midfield, he was unhappy about his playing time because I think Laporte was getting more games. So he just threw him in to make sure he had some games. Pedri doing a little bit better in terms of the goal output, not so much in the way of assists. Elmas didn't feature as much, he wasn't happy, so we are looking to sell him. We've just accepted a bid for 38 mil from Spurs. Kulusevski, another fairly solid season. He is wanted, so we may look to sell him. Locatelli, again, fairly consistent performer. Chiesa, absolutely smashing it again. And De Ligt, again, solid. Rooney Bargi getting a few games off the bench this time. And Callum Doyle getting a few games. Mike Maignan having a fairly solid season, debut season. Yeah, so some positives, but an awful lot of negatives, to be honest with you. So we really need to reevaluate where we're going with this club, and particularly this tactic, because what I did do, if you've watched my Dortmund savers for the Champions League games, I did revert to a more conservative sort of this type of formation, which did get us over the line in the Champions League in that final season. Obviously, I'm not doing this type of save where I dip in, I play it. I'm just literally just simming the season. So it might be that we actually look to maybe do something like this instead. What is he like as a? So he's a 4-star shadow striker. He's also a 4-star central midfielder on attack, which would potentially just make him get up there anyway and just provide a bit more options. We may put the Mez on support. So we might end up trying that and seeing if that does the job for us and just helps make things a bit more secure and keeps things safe at the back, going into the Champions League, because ultimately that's what we're after now. We just want the Champions League now. We've won the Scudetto twice. I mean, the Cup would be nice as well, but I'll take either way. To be honest with you, I'd rather have the Champions League. We've got a big ask. We've got a big step up to make. To go from quarter-finalists, that's the furthest we've got to get past that. So yeah, some smart recruitment needed, I think, and I think we will try this tactic certainly for the first half of the season and see how it does, and see if we seem to be getting the same level of numbers from the key individuals, your Aouars, your Raspadoris, and your Vlahovic. That's if Raspadori's still here. He is wanted by clubs. We did reject bids from Manchester United last season, really, really pathetically low bids of like 30 mil. He's only worth 17 to 20 million, but I don't know how, because he's got really, really good attributes and his numbers are ridiculous. Aouar, Raspadori and Porro all leading the way in the assists. Vlahovic understandably leading the way in the goals. Mike Maignan with the most clean sheets. So, there's something's going wrong along the line, which is affecting our performances once we get to the knockouts in Europe, because we do just absolutely storm the groups, like, in really emphatic fashion. Like, look at that goal difference of 22. When you look at some of the results we had, it was just, we absolutely just destroyed the opposition. It's against the bigger teams, we just seem to get carved apart. I mean, look at that from Vlahovic, absolutely storming away in the goals. So, we're doing something is going right in a long way, but then equally something is going wrong at the other end, I think. Just a little interesting nugget, just while I was looking for some players. Liverpool came top with 102 points, so, probably understandable in some ways that we got smashed by them, because they're obviously having a stormer of a season, but to concede 8 away is still terrible. But Fulham came 4th, everyone. 4th place. Well, everyone, it's the 1st of July, and I think we've finished our transfer business already, and for once, we've actually made somewhat of a profit. So let's start with the outgoings, really. That's the big one. And we won't ignore the elephant in the room. Matthijs de Ligt has gone to PSG for £115 million. They bid something like 80 mil for him. We rejected it, and he came to us saying, no, I want to go. And I was like, well, can you at least stay for another season? He was like, that's fine. And then they came in with a bid of about 85 or 90 to 100 mil. And I was like, let's just try and get it up a little bit more. So we got it up to 115. Now, while we're on this topic, we then tried to sign Fofana from Leicester, who looked like an ideal replacement. He agreed a contract with us for £300,000 a week, and we were thinking, flipping heck, that's a lot of money, but you know what, if it gets him through the door, then great. He rejected us to go to Manchester United because he thought it would be more financially beneficial for his family. They were paying him 115,000 a week, 185,000 less than we were going to pay him per week. And he was like, "Oh, Man United's more financially beneficial." It's like, you're chatting rubbish, mate. Go away. We also sold Elif Elmas to Shakhtar. He wasn't happy about his game time last season, so we made the decision to cash in on him while we could, made a profit on him, and any profit that Shakhtar make should they sell him, we'll get a percentage of that as well. With us selling Altai, we bought in Bart Verbruggen from Anderlecht, just for like a backup option in like going forward in the future, but we've let him stay on loan at Anderlecht just to help with his development just that little bit more. Hopefully he'll be a bit more of a viable option for us when he comes back. We brought in Marco Sportiello for £1 million from Verona just to be a backup option for the here and now. He's 31, but you know what, he'll do a job for us. We sold Weston McKennie. He might not have had like massively long left on his contract, and his average ratings weren't brilliant, but then again, he's a defensive mid. Defensive mids don't always get great average ratings, but we decided to sell him for 35 mil, and that meant that we could sign Wilfred Ndidi, freed up some funds to bring him in for 72 million. He's on, I think we managed to get him on slightly lower wages than what McKennie was on as well, and he's just generally an upgrade in that defensive midfield role, and we'll probably look to play him as like a half-back or something like that to give us a bit more security at the back. Let me see, who else did we bring in? Milan Skriniar, of course. Yeah, big signing. He is the Delict replacement because we couldn't get Fofana. Ryan Cherkey, he was transfer listed for 4.7 million by Lyon, and I thought he's a great little rotation option. Young player, low wages, and he's quite happy to be just a squad impact sub basically, and he can only really get better. And then worst case scenario, we sell him for, he's already worth almost 5 times what we bought him for. And then this guy, Isaac Babadi, young regen from PSV, I'm assuming he's a regen anyway, managed to bring him in. He's already doubled in value. Basically, we're going back to what I would usually do in a lot of saves in my squads. I always like to have, your star player, a decent rotation option, and then a young player who can easily come in and do that job as well if needed against some of the lower teams. And then this guy, another free transfer, Italian free transfer, young fullback, this time on the left-hand side, on like that Pesara, who is the right-hand side. Looks really good, and not the best determination, but for free, I'll take him. So in terms of the tactic, this is what we're going to do for the first half of the season up until about the end of January, because it seems to do the job in the groups absolutely fine, smashes through the groups, no problem. And then it's when we get to the knockout stages of the Champions League that we struggle. So we're going to do what I did in my final season at Dortmund, is play this for the first half of the season, and then when we get to the knockout stages, we will do this basically. And we'll bring Awar back down here if he would go there, and we'll play him as an attacking central mid probably. Hopefully that will get us over the line in the Champions League and, in the business end of the Cup. Provisionally, this was a 5-year rebuild, so depending on how we get on here, we may well finish it. But if we get close to the Champions League, I may well choose to do one last season to see if we can win it. If we don't win it this time, so everyone, I shall see you at the end of what is going to be season 5. Right, everyone, that was the 5th season done, and we're going to do one last one to see if we can get that Champions League. As you can see, we got knocked out by Porto. We got knocked out or something like, I think it was like 5-3 or something like that on aggregate in the first round. Now, I didn't change the tactic for that game. I went to, I just left it as the goal machine tactic because I thought Porto are good, but I don't want to show them too much respect. And play a bit more conservative and invite them onto us. Even though with the 4-3-3, it's not, it's got an attacking central midfielder and it's got a Mazzala. But, and I nearly did just completely decide that this was going to be the last season, after we got knocked out in the semis on extra time of the Coppa Italia to Udinese, which we really should have won. But last day, we won the league. Yes, everyone, that's right. Going into the last game of the season, we are 2 points behind Milan. We, however, managed to get the win, and they didn't. If we look at the fixtures and the results, we beat Fiorentina 5-1. 4 goals from Vlahovic, 1 from Rooney Bargi. Milan, an Ivan Toney late equaliser, gifting us the title on the final day of the season. To be fair, the only reason Milan were in with a shout at the title was because of a few poor results going into the last few days. So a 1-1 draw away to Cagliari and a 1-0 loss away to Lazio really looked like it had given Milan the chance to retain the Scudetto, but no, it wasn't to be. We swooped in and we got that win. So that's our 3rd Scudetto in 5 years. But as I touched on, knocked out in the semi-final by high-flying Udinese, who I think did finish 4th in the league. Oh no, they ended up finishing 10th. By around about Christmas time, they were top. They really fell from grace, and they were 4th up until about March, April, and they obviously just absolutely free fell. But yeah, so they dumped us out of the Coppa Italia, and as you can see, we lost 3-1 in the away leg to Porto after only managing a 2-2 draw at home. And it was at this point when I was thinking, after this Coppa Italia semi-final, I was thinking, I'm just going to leave it. I'm not going to bother doing a final season. Usually I do these, well, usually the generally done thing with these is do it over 5 seasons. But I think we're going to have one last crack at a Champions League. As I did say, I was maybe got a little bit torn in some ways with the tactic on what to do in the Champions League. So we came 2nd in our group because we lost to Liverpool. But otherwise, we absolutely murdered Zenit and Lask. And I thought Porto, okay, you know what, we'll stick with it. Stick with the tactic for Porto, because we should, even though they came top of their group, I thought we should be looking to beat them. And this tactic is one that can beat Man City, PSG, etc. So I thought, great, it should be fine, but it didn't. So I think it's tough. It's tough. Do we stick with this? Because the numbers we get out of some of the players are ridiculous. Vlahovic this time with 74 goal contributions. Raspadori with 32. Aouar with 34. Teo Hernandez, Pedro Porro doing really, really well. We had a few dynamics issues, don't get me wrong, with Skriniar, Bastoni, etc. Wanting game time. I think when there's the 3, Laporte, Skriniar and Bastoni, they kind of fight it out amongst themselves. And no one really, I think basically they just get a bit fed up when they don't get regular game time. Kulusevski wasn't happy. We'll probably look to move him on. Raspadori, we keep getting lowballed. We keep getting bid 12, 13 million for him. This is a player who, since he's joined us, has, hit double figures in goals for 4 seasons, and in some cases, absolutely smashed the assists in. Yet he's still only worth something like 14.5 to 18 mil. I don't get how. And whenever we reject the offers, he gets really, really annoyed. Now, we may well look to sell him to avoid that from happening. He's a very good player for us, but at the same time, we do have Rooney Bargi, who's really starting to develop nicely. He's only 20. We could probably look to play him on that right-hand side and give Chiesa, who is still producing unreal numbers, on that left-hand side, and that would probably work really nicely. We've got Ryan Cherkey sitting on the bench. He chipped in, with a couple of contributions. He didn't start a game at all. Callum Doyle starting to get a bit more game time. He's developing really nicely. We've got a few players coming back, young players. We've got Rojas and we've got Vasco Estevez, who we signed from Sporting. He looks like he could be a class striker. He looks insane. He'll be a really good player to have kicking around. Esposito, he does want to leave because he didn't really get much game time. So we may look to sell him and bring in someone who will be quite happy just to be a rotation option on that wing. But otherwise, I really am getting to a point where I'm kind of really struggling on where we strengthen, because the team is generally so solid. We've got elite players in pretty much every position, and it's just trying to get us over the line for that Champions League. So I'm thinking the only thing we can do is just play this tactic, stick Ndidi on as a half-back, as we planned, and go to Aouar as the attacking central midfielder, just so he makes all those runs, and we will just change it so he is moving into channels and roaming from position, just to give him that license just to literally just go wherever he wants and hopefully do the business. Can we add anything to Pedri? Don't really need to be honest with you. He's kind of already doing everything that we'd want him to. Porro and Hernandez, keeping them quite attacking to get the most out of them. The only issue, I suppose, with that is if they push too far forward. But it's a risky take, really, isn't it? So, yeah, big head scratch going on, really, as to what to do for the best going forward and where we improve this team. Isaac Babadi, he'll stay around, and hopefully he'll continue to develop. He looks like he could be a really, really good midfield option for us. I think we're kind of sorted to an extent with the back line and with the midfield. Maybe it's just the wings, but then again we've got Chiesa and we've got Bargi, so I don't really know where we go from here, to be honest with you, to help get us over the line for that Champions League win. Right, everyone, the transfer business ahead of this final and unintended, initially 6th season rebuild here at Juventus is done. I don't really envisage anyone else leaving or anyone else coming in. To be honest with you, some of the business I didn't necessarily intend on doing. I kind of had my transfer strategy in place, and then it kind of changed when someone became available, or someone came to my attention, rather. We'll start with the outs. Dejan Kulusevski, we managed to get 55 million for him from United, and he only had, I think, 12 months or something left on his contract. He was unhappy at the club because he hadn't had a massive amount of game time last season. I think the assistant was going with Chiesa over him, really, on that right-hand side, which is completely understandable. Obviously, we had Raspadori on the left. Don't get me wrong, he's a good player, but to get 55 million for someone who had 12 months left on his deal, who hadn't really played a huge amount for us, was great. Esposito, he left for 15 million. Papetti was someone who, wasn't really getting the game time in defence and hadn't really developed into someone who would be a first team regular for us as a result of that. So we cashed in on him and sent him out to Celta Vigo for 9.5 mil. And the rest of the people who left were, under 22 players who, had no real future at the club. In terms of incomings, we only really planned on spending a small amount of money on just regens, basically. Or new gens, sorry, I should say. So one of them we brought in was this guy, Roberto Verdu. Young, Spanish, central midfielder. Can play more defensive. He's just not very good at tackling at the moment, but he can certainly potentially do a role as like a deep line playmaker on support or something like that. He'll go out on loan as part of his contract, was that he wanted to be able to go out on loan, and he's not really ready for first team action yet. But who knows, because I might choose to just carry on playing with this save for a little bit afterwards, if I ever fancy like a nice sort of easy revert back to something. But it's good to have the depth. Even if he ends up staying, he'll be in and around the team, I imagine. Wolfgang Huntsman, same sort of principle, young player who is probably going to go out on loan, but again, good to think for the future of the club, and he'll be someone who'll probably be quite happy to be a rotation option while he develops. Kevin De Bruyne became available for 15 million, and at the age of 35, those attributes, he still looks insane, and he is someone who I would hope will bring in some extra quality to help get us over the line in that Champions League success. The player we didn't count on spending on, like I said, we weren't planning on spending big, but we did have the money to do so if we wanted with the sales that we made, was this guy, Diego Montoya, a new gen. He was at Fulham, believe it or not. He had an 89 mil release clause. We signed him. He looks absolutely class. He'll fill in the midfield for us. And I expect him to do really, really well. I'll be honest with you, what that means for the tactic is this. We are not going to stipulate the assistant that he plays any one particular player over anyone else, because we have a first 11 who are absolute world class. We have Mike Maignan, who is going to be our keeper. We have Sportiello at the backup, but he's actually probably going to leave. We had a bid for him from, I think, Verona. Cagliari, sorry, for 1.1 million. He has a year left on his deal. He didn't kick a ball for us, and we're potentially earning 100,000 on what we spent for him. Bart Verbruggen, he's unhappy because I wouldn't give him a contract which guaranteed him as a first-choice goalkeeper. But I'm sorry, mate, you're only really good enough to be a backup. Bastoni, elite world-class centre-half. He'll play on the left, probably along with Laporte. 32, but still amazing in his attributes. Fresh from Spain, who have just won the World Cup in 2026. Callum Doyle, perfectly adequate backup, left back or left wing back. I mean, he can't really cross, but he can certainly make those runs with that pace, and he'll be able to play a pass into the midfield if needed. Pedro Porro, just an elite right back, probably one of the best right backs in the world in this save right now. Wilf Ndidi, halfback, can also fill in at centre half. Possibly, you know, a slight decline in his training recently, but I'm sure he'll get back up to his normal levels. Milan Skriniar, again, elite level centre half. He'll fill in on that right side for us. Gaston Brizuela, decent backup right back centre half, but can also play on the right if needed. He'll hopefully, the assistant will think to give him games against some like the lower teams in the league, just to rest the likes of Skriniar. Teo Hernandez, the left back, you know, speaks for himself with those attributes. Probably, you know, one of the best left backs in the game on this save. 4.5-star ability, and we're only paying him 250k a week, which when you look at some of the other players, the wages they're on is insane. Michele Pereira, he'll stay in and around. So he was the one we signed for free when he was 16, and he's developed really, really well out on loan. Don't get me wrong, he's not an elite player, but he's definitely someone who could be a good rotation option just to save Pedro Porro's legs, even if it means that he just comes off the bench and just gives Porro sort of 20-30 minutes just to recover after a game. Locatelli, we all know he's class. He's developed into, you know, an elite midfielder for us. His attributes have crept up, thankfully, over time since we've had him with this save, and he's now a really, really good option for us. He'll fill in at defensive mid, but can also play, you know, slightly further up. And then we've got De Bruyne. You know, you don't need to say anything about him. He'll play either as that attacking central midfielder or as a mezzala. Rooney Bargi, he's coming on really, really well. He'll play probably in that inside forward role. Same with Chiesa. He can play anywhere across those two wings. Our, again, great midfield option. Ryan Cherkey, really good rotation option. Pedri, he'll play in the midfield, I imagine, as well. Then we've got Montoya. We've touched on Jose Rojas. You might remember we signed him for absolute pennies. What actually was the deal in the end? 33,000 that we signed him for. He had a great season out on loan in Costa Rica, and he also had a really good season at Hamwar in Belgium. After we signed him, he is now worth something ridiculous, like 34 mil when we signed him for 33k. Really, really good attributes. He can play either as a number 10 or as a number 9. I mean, looking at the goal scoring numbers he's had, even though his finishing's only 9, I think with his composure, his determination, his anticipation, everything like that, he's obviously someone who is a capable finisher, so he will rotate in and around for Vlahovic. Same with Raspadori. Obviously, Vlahovic speaks for himself. 3-time Ballon d'Or winner now. And then we've got Vasco Estevez, who we signed from Sporting. He stayed out on loan at Sporting last season, developed really, really well, hit really good goal-scoring numbers, and he'll be a class rotation option up front for us. Yeah, so what we're hoping is that basically the assistant will allow players to have a rest just so they don't get overplayed and therefore get tired, which could compromise our performance in the Champions League and in the Coppa Italia. Whether it'll work like that, I don't know, but all we can do is see, pray, hope, and try. I'm just going to let this just run and just see what happens at the end of the season. This was a season we weren't necessarily expecting or planning to do, so whatever happens, happens. And if we win the Champions League, great. If we don't, then we'll leave it after that. Well, everyone, I've just gotten home and I've just looked at the results of the final season of the Juventus rebuild, the 6th season. And you know what? It seems like the tactical change worked, let's be honest. We didn't win the Champions League. We did get to the semi-final. I've seen the results of the semi-final. We did get battered by PSG, to be fair. But we won the Coppa Italia. We won the league. We won the Super Cup, sorry. So we actually achieved all the objectives of the board. They wanted us to win both the domestic cups, win the league, and reach the semi-final of the Champions League. So I think if I did this for another season, potentially we could turn that, actually playing the game, playing the semi-finals, we could potentially actually get over the line. But yeah, we reached 100 points, again, 101 points this time. Close second with Inter getting 95, that's crazy. The league does seem to have really become a bit more competitive in the last couple of seasons, which was really good to see. One thing I have noticed so far, though, is that the change in tactic did bring about a reduction in Vlahovic's potency. He just got the 50 goals this time round. But yeah, let's have a look at let's go straight into the Champions League first. In a group of Sporting, Atletico and Slavia Prague, we came top, but only on 11 points. We won 3, drew 2, and lost 1. Sorry, everyone, I'm really congested. Yeah, so, we still came through top, but obviously probably not quite as dominant a performance in the groups as we would have thought. And then what happened? First knockout round, we dumped out Man United, 4-3 on aggregate. We overturned what I'm assuming was it must have been 1-1 in the first leg, sorry. And then in the quarterfinals,
We knocked out Bayern Munich. Fair enough. And then we got knocked out in the semis. We didn't quite manage an unbeaten season. We lost to Inter 2-1 away. But just so you know, by the way, everyone, this is my first time actually looking through all this. We lost to Atletico at home in the Champions League. Wow, but then we went on a really mad run. We beat Udinese 7-2 in the Super Cup. Was that... We only lost in the league once, everyone. One defeat in the league all season. That's not bad going. And was that the final? We won 3-2 in extra time. Let's have a look at the highlights from this. This has got to be worth a look. So everyone, I have just seen what happened in this game, and honestly, it looks like a good one. Looks like a proper great final. Osman with a screamer there puts Milan 1-0 up. And then, 15 minutes later, Di Lorenzo, what's he going to do with it? He crosses it in, finds Leao at the far post, and it's 2-0 to Milan at half-time. And you must be thinking, oh, here we go. Here we go. Our Laporte, Vlahovic makes it 2-1. And then 82nd minute, Locatelli, Porro, Montoya at the far post. Everyone, the guy we signed from Fulham, made it 2-2 into extra time. Estevez, who, looking at the stats, had a class season. We'll break into them. Rooney Bargi crosses it in. Vlahovic makes it 3-2 in the 115th minute. And Rooney Bargi did actually have a goal disallowed in the 120th as well. So despite Vlahovic not quite having as prolific a season, he still did finish top of the scoring charts in the Serie A. And Houssam Aouar still got the most assists. Now, how many goals did we actually score? We scored 108. And we got 101 points, 32 wins from 38 games. That is really quite immense. In terms of individual performances, obviously, remember everyone, we literally just let the assistant just pick the team from scratch. Like, no, we had no preset players playing. So, Vlahovic, 50 goals in 50 appearances with 5 assists. Raspadori got 20 goals and 16 assists. That's actually probably his best goal return, I think, so far for us. Estevez, look at that, from 3 starts, 36 sub appearances. Just a reminder, everyone, this is Estevez, and he has developed even more. He looks like he could be, like, you know, probably a Ballon d'Or winner in a few years' time. 17 goals and 5 assists. Chiesa weighing in. De Bruyne having a really good first season with the club. Pedri seemed to be the one who suffered, and he's actually requested to leave. But he seemed to suffer this season. He obviously didn't get picked as much. But let's see, how much has De Bruyne tapered off? Not massively so, but obviously Pedri will eventually, if we keep him, would eventually end up taking over. Defenders weighing in with some goals, 5 apiece for Bastoni and Skriniar. Bargi doing all right off the bench. Teo Hernandez doing okay there. Diego Montoya, how's he developed? 3 assists, 3 goals, 7 assists. He's developing really, really well. Look at that, 92 mil to 106 mil. Houssam Aouar, 3 goals, 15 assists. So slight waning in his goal numbers. Not playing in that shadow striker role, but still obviously did the job. Laporte, Porro getting 12 assists. So the change in tactic, we didn't really suffer much for it. And just a reminder, everyone, that change was literally just dropping the shadow striker down into a centre attacking midfield, centre midfield with the attacking role, and putting the defensive mid on as a halfback. But ultimately, the tactic is still the same one that I used, the goal machine tactic that I created. Basically, all that happened was that we literally just changed the roles, but the instructions still stayed the same. How did Pesera do? Not brilliant. Did he play many games? I missed. Not a huge amount, but he's still young and he's still got plenty of time to grow. What's his name? Jose Rojas play much? One appearance, so not many. But still, you know, he's still, again, also only young. Ryan Cherkey didn't really play much. He wants to leave, so he would probably be allowed to leave in this save if we continued with it. You know, what's that? 4 out of 6 Scudettos, 1 Champions League semi-final, 1 Coppa Italia, a few Super Cups. This Juventus rebuild has gone okay. We didn't achieve our objective. We wanted to get a Champions League, but yeah, it wasn't to be. I wonder if we'd persisted with the, used this newer tactic earlier, whether we would have got there. But we've definitely got Juventus back into the top domestically, and I think a Champions League would probably not be that far away. yeah, I think it's still criminal though that squad was unable to get to a Champions League final at least. But that is the downfall, I suppose, of these rebuilds is that it's very hands off in a lot of ways. So you don't have, on a game by game basis, you don't have much input, which is a shame. And I think that if I was a bit more involved in certainly in this season at least, I think we probably would have potentially got to that Champions League final and got past PSG. Where we would have then beat Liverpool in the final is a completely different matter. But we'll never know. We will never know. If you've enjoyed the video, everyone, please do leave your thoughts down below. I always appreciate them. Who do you want me to do a rebuild with next? Yeah, let's keep these coming. I think they can be really fun. And yeah, quite satisfying to do sometimes. So yeah, take care, everyone. I will see you next time. Bye.